Co here, and don't try to clear your screen, folks. That is 100% correct. Today's Hybrid Origins with Ryan Steele will be hosted by Gordon Lawler. Gordon, are you there, sir?
I'm here, SBJ, and everyone, welcome to Hybrid Origins, the HWA podcast, where everyone gets to tell their story in HWA and beyond. I'm here this evening with Ohio's favorite son, the guy who calls himself the Prince of Ohio, Ryan Steele, and I believe he's talking to me live from STEELE Academy in Dayton, Ohio. Ryan, are you there?
Yes, I am.
All right, here we go. So, Ryan Steele, this is one podcast I've been waiting for. Both of us are from the state of Ohio. I graduated from Ohio State University with a degree in journalism. So, I guess we have something in common. I don't know who that... I guess we got a lot of people at STEELE Academy today checking the place out.
Mm-hmm. That we do.
All righty, then. We'll continue as per usual. Either way. So, I'm trying to find a good place to start here. I got a lot of notes here written down, as a good broadcast journalist does. So right here it says we'll start at the very beginning. What made Ryan Steele decide to be a professional wrestler? What made Ryan Steele?
Well, that's actually a good question. I've always been a fan growing up and wanted to get into it and didn't know how hard it was at first until I got into it. It's really hard work. I'm going to tell you that right now. Really hard work.
Well, I wouldn't know. I haven't underwent professional wrestling training, but continue.
You have to train every day. You have to physically get your minds right. It's work beyond work. All
right. So, as we know, you started your training in Ohio, Dayton, Ohio, after you graduated from high school. Says right here that around 2002, 2003-ish, you started teaming with Sebastian Young in the indie scene. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
That is actually a best friend of mine. We met in high school, and we shared the same interest. And he actually brought up the idea of forming the team. So, and we started the indies locally, tried around Ohio, and then got our name up. We went through several different name changes as a team, and went through, had some rough time trying to get started. Several promoters didn't like us. You run into that.
Of course, that's pretty commonplace in the wrestling world. There's always going to be promoters that don't like you, but there's also going to be promoters that do. And you can continue. So,
throughout our course of career, we tagged up and separated, did singles titles. We eventually did get some tag team gold under our belt, so it all worked out.
And I guess it did. You were talking about trying to get noticed by talent scouts and so forth. You actually did get noticed. It took Sebastian Young a little longer, but you got noticed by UCW, and that's where you started your career on a bigger level, if you get what I'm saying. Like, you started to wrestle on national television, and
yeah.
What was the big difference between indie wrestling and being on national television for you personally?
For me personally, UCW was a big stage. You cannot make a mistake whatsoever. You have eyes on you 24/7 when you're out there. So you cannot make a mistake. You make a mistake, it all goes downhill.
And you had some early matches there with the likes of Lewis C., the Golden Peacock, Max Steele, the Curb Stomp Messiah, Joe Rivers, just to name a few guys. But did you learn anything by getting in the ring with them, like the more experienced talents like Lewis C. and Joe Rivers?
I did learn a couple things. I'm wanting to do things on my own. They were trying to teach me, teach me this, teach me that. And I wasn't having it. I wasn't listening to it. I wanted to do things on my own way. and they didn't like that. So
Ultimately, I know it led to some contractual disputes, and you eventually left UCW and you signed an exclusive contract with IWA and James STEELE. Bobby Wade was one of the talent scouts that picked you out, and when you got to IWA, you had a very rough start. You debuted on Proving Grounds against Slick Rick. You lost, and it began a losing streak. How did you bounce back from that long losing streak you had against guys like Slick Rick?
Well, that actually is a good question because when I got to IWA, I was under 200 pounds, and so I had to beef up, gain weight. I am now over 230, so that helped me along with my training.
Kind of had to undergo some changes, and those changes had worked. And while you were in IWA, correct me if I'm wrong, that's when you joined the Royal Army. Is that correct? Or was that before?
Around that time, yes.
Around that time, you joined up with the Royal Army, and you didn't last really long. You got, in your own words before the show, exonerated from the show. How'd that happen?
I was, again, I'm a man of wanting to do things on my own, experience it for myself. The rest of the Royal Army didn't like that. And
you were with talents the likes of Frankie Omega, Wyndham Manor, those kind of guys, Bobby Wade, and Joe Rivers, I believe, was in the Royal Army at that point in time. I mean, so you were with an all-star group of people, but I wanted to point this out because I don't know if you would have thought of it, but when you were there, or at the time you were calling yourself the Omega, you met Devil Dog. And Devil Dog, I know you guys don't really get along with each other now, but back then he was a very crucial part of your career.
Yes, Devil Dog, yes. He's one of a kind. Took me under his wing. I told him, I'm like, look, I got to do things on my own. I got to experience it for my own. And he's like, you're going to do things my way. And I was like, okay, what? And it opened my eyes. So
he described you as before he met you and when he first met you as someone who was really quiet, barely talked. Was there a reason you just kind of kept to yourself? Were you a little shy? I mean, what was going on?
I wanted to let my actions speak louder than my words, is how I was in my early career.
Especially in IWA. But
yes.
It didn't yeah. But moving on here. In IWA, after you started to bounce back, it didn't take long for you to get noticed. Eventually, after a while being the Omega, you become the Legend Killer, and you go after one of the biggest legends in IWA history, Bobby Wade. What possessed you to actually go for Bobby Wade?
Well, as you said, legends. You take the big dog down. You put eyes on yourself, and that was my thinking back then. You take the big dog down, you become the big dog.
And not only did you beat Bobby Wade once, but you beat him twice. A lot of people thought the first win was a fluke, and the second win temporarily sent Bobby Wade into retirement, and you kind of gained a reputation by being known as the man who retired Bobby Wade.
That is correct. That is correct.
And also around that time, you won the IWA Universal title.
That is correct.
And so you spent a little while after that. Like, you decided to branch out a little bit, I believe, and you were kind of having some difficulties doing that. I guess you were only used to the IWA style of things.
Yes, I was.
I mean, when you are in one company exclusively for a while, I guess it's hard to adapt to another company's way of doing things, because each company runs things a little differently, as we all know. Also, I see some people in the live chat here. We'll get to some fan questions. And in the meantime, also we got Brian Hernsberger here, Ryan Steele, and he has the first fan question here for you. Take a pause. Who are your favorite wrestlers?
My favorite, I'm going to have to go with Kenny Omega. That's one of mine. I'm also going to have to go with Kevin Owens.
Ooh, IWA Network. Someone from the IWA Network has a question for you. You know, speaking of IWA, while we're in that portion of your career, Bobby Wade said, and this is a legit quote from Bobby Wade, if it wasn't for him, Ryan Steele wouldn't be a star. And how do you feel about that statement? Do you really think that's the case? Do you really think Bobby Wade's the reason you're a star?
I can't deny the fact. Like I said before, like I previously stated, you take the big dog down, you make yourself the big dog. And I took Bobby Wade down, which was then a legend, and still is a legend. So yeah, my feud with Bobby Wade made me a star. I'm not going to deny that.
So also around that time after the Bobby Wade feud, again after you decided to branch out, you signed with HWA, but you didn't get to make any appearances. Like, was there a reason why, though you were under contract, you didn't appear in IWA? HWA? Was there too many commitments that you had in IWA? Like, were you just booked too much?
Yeah, I was trying to get things situated. At that time, I was only a limited appearance contract under HWA, so that had to take weight too.
So when you went to re-sign with IWA, which you were able to after you got all those wins over Bobby Wade and won the Universal title, you elected in your contract to no longer be IWA exclusive. Is that correct?
That is correct.
You wanted to branch out. And
that is correct.
See, recently as in a year ago, because EFED world, time goes quick. You kind of had a little bit of a career change. You were in HWA, and you had met a guy that you had known you got to really know a guy that you had met a couple years ago in IWA, and that was Clarence Fletcher Townsend. And he said before that he was working more behind the scenes at the time. He wasn't being an actual manager. He was just managing your bookings. Like, he was just making sure that everything was in order so you could appear on both shows.
Yeah.
And a lot of people have criticized you for associating yourself with it. Everyone says that he is arrogant, cocky. He has brainwashed you. You've sold out. I mean, how do you feel about all these statements that come your way like that? And I bet you've asked this a lot.
My feelings toward those comments, they're just haters. They're bitter with my success. See, I met Mr. Townsend a couple years ago, and I met him in Los Angeles, I do believe. I think that's where he's from. And I was doing a live show there, and I did some meetings with him. Eventually, he became my agent, and he took over my contracts and my contractual obligations, and here we are today.
Yes, here we are today, and he's known for having a bunch of top-tier clients. He's known for being one of the more well-known figures in the EFED world nowadays, one of the most infamous as well. And do you think at all in recent times you owe any success to him?
I do, actually. I do. More specifically in 3WA.
Yeah, we'll get to a lot of that as we go, but if we could talk about this. You signed with 3WA. You meet up with the owner, Jacob Justice. And really, that's the second promotion that you really got established in, like, besides IWA. Like, IWA, then 3WA. You'll start to know who you are there. I mean, it took you a while. I mean, it took you almost 5 years on the national circuit to get there. But when you got there, you immediately made an impact. You started winning a lot of matches. And eventually, you get a number one contendership spot for the first ever 3WA Global Championship in a Hell in a Cell against Dre Havoc, where you beat Dre Havoc and won the title. And you became the first ever 3WA Global Champion.
That is correct.
And, I mean, how did it feel for you to be the first global champion? Not just the global champion, but the first one.
It felt so good. It felt like everything that I've done, everything my standards that I've set for myself, it felt made like it paid off.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it's always good to have that feeling when things pay off for you. You know you finally did it. You won the title. You became a well-renowned figure. And since then, like, you have won numerous championships across many promotions. And James Sargent, I see your question, CSWA. I'll get to that in just a moment, trying to keep things organized kind of by timeline order. I'm going to look through the questions here real quick, if I may. It says, this is also from Brian Hernsberger. What are your favorite factions?
My favorite factions.
A lot to choose from.
That there is. My all-time favorite is the Nexus.
Nexus?
The Nexus.
Also looking here, the American Outlaw blows a kiss to you. I don't know what that means. But Joe Rivers is here as well.
I'm gonna ignore that. I really
Joe
am.
Rivers is in the chat, and we've talked about him a moment ago in your early UCW career. He's like, why is this worthless man even having an Origins? He hasn't done anything but buy his way into the title. I'm paraphrasing that to proofread it, per se, but that's pretty much what he's asking. He thinks you have bought all your titles, and that you have not earned the Global Championship or the IWA Universal Championship, or all these titles we've been talking about.
Well, he needs to go back and look at the show, because I do remember beating Dre Havoc myself. So
you won the Universal title yourself. I mean,
that is correct. Yes.
If you go back and you watch the footage, I mean, I don't know if you did any shady financial dealings. He says, no, CFT bought his way in. No, that's not. I mean, do you think that's true?
No, it's not. We have Mr. Talented and I. We have lawyers. We have all sorts of financial people to fall back on. They give us advice. So for him to say that, it's false allegations.
And plus, you know the expression, I know you're probably feeling it right now, the 1 year and out the other. I mean, Joe Rivers is a legend in this industry. And honestly, I mean, I do think he deserves the respect that he gets. But I'm not going to lean one way or the other on that statement. I'm a broadcast journalist. I'm supposed to be impartial. James Steele brings something up, and we were just about to talk about it, because a lot of the stuff we have to talk about is recent times. So in IWA, which you've stayed at even after you signed a non-exclusive contract, you became friends with someone no one would have ever expected you to become friends with, that being Aaron Wade. So here's the question. Why are you friends with Aaron Wade after all you have done to the Wade family? Like, what is different to you about Aaron Wade than Bobby and Sarah Wade?
Aaron Wade, his views on things are a lot different than Bobby's. And see, that's what sets Aaron apart from Bobby, is his views. Aaron is very talented. The Wade family is very talented. But Aaron is a lot more talented than Bobby ever was.
And we've seen Aaron Wade do a lot of crazy things since he's aligned himself with Townsend Enterprises. Like, he attacked Bobby Wade's wife, Sarah. He put Alan Wade, his younger brother, through a table. And he beat Bobby Wade at March Mania. And a lot of people are saying that's the end of Bobby Wade for good. I mean, how do you feel about that? I mean, you essentially retired Bobby Wade twice. But Aaron Wade seems to have been the one to put him away for good.
Well, my point of view is that's Bobby Wade's March Mania. That's his third loss at March Mania. Two of them was to me. So for him to try to come back and try to steal that spotlight from us, and us being Aaron and myself, I don't know.
This is something we haven't heard much about yet, but I mentioned a minute ago, James Sargent. I'll go ahead and I'm going to mix your questions into one question. What are your goals in CSWA, which you signed with not that long ago in comparison to the other promotions? And do you think your championship material in CSWA, championship material as in world championship material? So let's start off with the first question. Your goals in CSWA.
My goals, it's plain and simple. Titles. Championships.
So that goes with the world championship material question, am I wrong?
Exactly. That is correct.
And the second question I'm going to ask you here is from Devil Dog. Do you think Ryan Steele would be a household name if he didn't align with Townsend?
Ryan Steele is a household name with Townsend or without. Okay, Ryan Steele is himself. Okay, Townsend is. You guys, I don't know. You people are hating on Mr. Townsend, and it just bothers me. It really does. It just bothers me that I've known Mr. Townsend for 2.5 years, and this is somebody that I've kind of confided in with STEELE Academy, and he's helped me with STEELE Academy. So,
correct me if I'm wrong, but the institution that STEELE Academy is in was purchased by Clarence Fletcher Townsend.
That is correct.
The entire institution, the rings, the equipment, everything.
That is correct.
And all the smart technology that you guys use, next-gen training, you could call it. And now here's the better question from CSWA in regards to Townsend Enterprises. Does Ryan Steele really need Townsend Enterprises to be a star? Or if you want to expand upon that question, you didn't ask this, but does Ryan Steele need Townsend Enterprises, or even in some senses Havoc, to be a star?
See, I make whatever company popular. Okay, I'm the star. I'm the name that everybody wants. So for Havoc to want me, that's putting themselves out there. For CSWA to want me, that's putting themselves out there.
But back to the question, though, do you need Townsend, or why would you want Townsend?
Townsend is my agent. So,
I mean, I guess no one has directly. I mean, there have been a lot of people say that, but I guess a lot of people have never directly said that Townsend is the reason for your success. But there's a lot of cases for it. I mean, think of everything that's happened for Ryan Steele after he joined up with him, winning the global championships we mentioned before, ICW Superstar of the Year. I mean, he signed a lot of contracts. He finally debuted in HWA, and outside of Townsend Enterprises, he showed up in CSWA and a couple other places. But ultimately, is he needed? Like, a lot of people are saying that you should fire Townsend. That's what this is all going to.
If people think that I need to fire Townsend, they are crazily stupid.
Oh, there's your answer, everyone. And now, here's some other questions here. Explain to me, this is from the promoter of Megalo, not Joe Rivers. Explain to me if you are a household name without him, as in Townsend, I'm assuming. Why wasn't you a one before, this is how he typed it, before the class of Rivers, KSJ, Louis C., Slick Rick, and Bobby Wade? Why couldn't he hang with them in the era of them? Like, why couldn't you hang with those guys in your younger years? I mean, do you blame it on lack of experience?
Early in my career, when I started, when they were superstars, yeah, it was lack of experience. I didn't know much.
I mean, do you think the story would be different? Do you think the story would be different now?
Do I think the story would be different now? Maybe, maybe not.
I guess you'd have to get in the ring to figure that one out yourself.
Yep.
Okay, here we go. I'm going to point out a thing here as a correction by the promoter of IWA, James STEELE. Bobby Wade has lost all 4 March Manias, not 3. He lost once to KSJ, twice to you, and once to Aaron Wade.
Okay, I stand corrected.
There we go. Here we go. Do you think Bobby Wade will appear at March Mania 5 next year since losing 4 straight Manias? Or do you think he's just going to stay back for once? And
I think Bobby Wade craves the spotlight. So, yes, I think he will be at March Mania 5 next year.
In some capacity, gotcha. Now, this is a kind of an interesting question, but I want to know your thoughts on this one. This is from Brian Hernsberger. Is CFT a good man or a traitor? Townsend, is he good or is he a traitor? Do you think he's a traitor?
Brian, for you to ask that question, it's not even worth my time to answer it. To put it that way. So there's your answer.
All right, here we go. Correction, STEELE was 2 years before Rivers came in. Rivers tried to help him out. STEELE didn't want to listen. So basically, he's saying that the only reason Ryan STEELE had a hard time being successful is because he didn't take training from Joe Rivers early in his career. What was the reason behind you not accepting training from Joe Rivers?
Well, it all falls back on what I said previously. I wanted to do things my own way, and I wasn't listening to what everybody else said. I wanted to find out stuff on my own. I wanted to make mistakes on my own. And here I am.
James STEELE, we'll get to your more recent question in just a moment here, but we're going to continue our discussion here. So after you signed with IWA, and after you signed with 3WA, you started to sign to other smaller promotions and bigger ones. ICW is one that some people have seen you in. You won the Superstar of the Year there, and you have been a double champion there. Is that correct? You reunited with Sebastian Young from your indie days and won the tag titles?
That is correct. Yes, that is correct.
And also, you we'll talk about this in just a moment. We alluded to it. Real quick question. HWA, Devil Dog wants to know chocolate milk or strawberry. Is that something you want to answer?
I'm going to ignore that question.
Okay. So, you also, in ICW with yourself and Sebastian Young, you also have been flanked by Mason Brooks. Who's Mason Brooks?
Mason is somebody I met at a show. He was, if I remember right, I think he was part of the ring crew. And he was in the ring, kind of messing around before the show. And I took my eye and kind of seen behind the curtain what he was doing. And he had some talent. I noticed just the 5 minutes I was watching, he had some talent. And had some meetings with him, signed him to STEELE Academy, and he's won some tag titles with us. So,
and now this is going to lead to my next portion of the interview, talking about STEELE Academy and STEELE Academy alone. You opened it up in Dayton, Ohio, and before Townsend bought the first institution, you bought one yourself in just a small warehouse, and that's where you trained your first couple clients. Couple off the top of my head, Mark Barrett and Bryce Beauchamp were both trained there, if I'm not mistaken.
That is correct.
And also, I believe you had a small hand in Code Red's training, but Mark Barrett also trained him as well.
Yep, that is correct.
And STEELE Academy has become this place where aspiring wrestlers go to learn the trade, you could say. And a lot of people find it controversial because they say you're trying to put ideologies in their head that are just flat out wrong, like trying to get them to sell out to Townsend Enterprises. Are you in any way, shape, or form encouraging your students to sign with Townsend Enterprises?
I am not. I put training in front of them, and it's their choice what they want to do. I've had several quit before the final week, so it depends. It's up to them.
I know Steel Academy is known for having one of the most rigorous training programs. As you said, many people have quit. A lot of people don't graduate from it. But is there a reason why you're, as a trainer, more intense than the likes of Bobby Wade and Joe Rivers in their wrestling academies?
Because early in my career, I found out how hard it was, and I wanted to put that training in front of them. I wanted to let them know, hey, it's going to be hard. It's going to be hard the first week out on your own. It's going to be hard trying to get that first championship win. It's going to be hard to get that first match win. So that's how I put my curriculum in front of them. It's hard. You know, you want to try to go win a match first. You got to get past me first. You got to get past Steel Academy first. So
this next question is from the American Outlaw, and again, it's one of those questions that I'll leave it up to you whether or not you want to answer it, if you think it's worth your time. Bang Bros or Backroom Casting Couch?
I'm going to ignore that one.
They say here, Hybrid Wrestling Alliance says they heard that Devil Dog was rumored to be a special guest coach at the Academy this summer. Is that a lie, or is that true? Is that fake news?
No, that is not fake news. It's something we've been in the works with. Devil Dog has done wonders with my early training, and wanted to kind of put that towards my clients at Steel Academy.
Your clients at Steel Academy, and I don't know where that beatbox music is coming from. All right, so I guess we're just going to move around that one. So Megalo is just asking questions, hard questions, if he's as big of a star as he is, if he can handle him. Like, so, I mean, are you willing to answer Megalo's questions? You've answered multiple of them, but he doesn't like your answers.
I don't even know what the question is, so I'm going to ignore that.
Okay. Scott Toffick could stop in and clothesline someone. Do you think that's true? Do you think you can handle Scott Toffick?
If Scott Toffick wants to make an appearance at Steel Academy, he can give my agent a call and we'll set something up.
Well, I don't know how willing Scott Toffick would be to actually have a phone conversation with Clarence Fletcher Townsend. I know Scott Toffick and him have a lot of animosity, to say the least. And he's like, if he's being honest, that I don't have a problem, and here's the question, so I guess he's going to be typing that in a moment. But check the chat here, see if I missed any questions, because there's a lot of stuff being thrown at me at once. But I guess while we're waiting on that, HWA is waiting to host that match between Ryan Steele and Scott Toffick. Ball's in your court there, but we'll get to that in a moment. Either way, Steel Academy, once Townsend bought the place, you've trained a lot of people, though. Mason Brooks, again, we named a couple, Mark Barrett, Bryce Beauchamp, Cody Storm, some other guys that are upcoming in like NGW. But you trained Townsend, and that has been seen as controversial to some people. Professional bias, maybe some people have said that they think you only trained him simply because he's your agent and that he paid you to. But ultimately, Ryan Steele got beat by Clarence Fletcher Townsend before and won a mixed tag team match, and he's beaten DTM. Is Clarence Fletcher Townsend your star pupil? I mean, do you have a star pupil? I mean, he beat you.
That he did. I was quite shocked when that happened, actually. I was quite shocked when he beat DTM. Those two wins caught me off guard.
So, I mean, but could it be a safe statement to say that not only is he your agent, but he's one of your star pupils?
Yeah, I guess you could say that. It just shows my training pays off.
And a lot of people call Townsend the jack of all trades when it comes to this industry. He can wrestle, he's an agent, he does commentary, he does just about anything here in this company and elsewhere. Now, here we go. Joe Rivers asked the question, well, not Joe Rivers, excuse me, Megalo Pro Wrestling asked this question. If he listened to Rivers, you think Steele would have gotten bigger quicker? Like, do you think you would have had more success in a shorter amount of time had you followed the advice of Joe Rivers early in your career? In UCW and early IWA.
There's always a possibility of that. Always a possibility. But
So you're saying
we all know how fate ended up. Fate ended up where I didn't listen to him, and now look at me. It only took me longer because I did it my own way. I did it my way.
An IWA Network, James Steele has a really interesting question. If this is true, I haven't heard anything about it. Is it true that Alan Wade is taking training sessions from both Wade Wrestling Academy under his brother Aaron and STEELE Academy? Is Alan Wade at your school?
Alan has shown up one time. I've not seen him since.
But I'm assuming he spent most of his training at Wade Academy with Aaron Wade, if he's trained at all.
That's probably where he's at, yes.
I don't know why we're hearing My Way by Frank Sinatra in the background, folks, but we're still going to go. No one cares about Frank Sinatra. Either way.
I think it might be because Ryan Steele keeps saying he does it his way.
SPJ's here, and
I'm pretty sure
he's still sitting here.
Does it Townsend's way.
I'm just going by what I've read here and what I have in my notes, SPJ. So
this is an SPJ, by the way.
This is somebody. Who cares? I got a random voice in my head. Either way, you sound alike. I don't know if Dee Dee's here. Hopefully not. Outlaw versus Steele is on the card for the next.
He's not allowed to be on our broadcast.
I don't know who you are. Either way, Outlaw versus Steele is on the card for the next Hybrid Universe episode. You're facing the American Outlaw, the guy who put you through a catering table. How'd you feel about that?
Well, yeah, it's only payback for putting me through a Gordon Ramsay catering table. Gordon Ramsay wasn't happy that he had to pick me up out of his own catering table. Put it that
Townsend
way.
Spent a lot of money, almost $1 million, on his services.
That is correct.
He's like, fair enough, thanks for the honest answer. I can respect that. I can say that I've seen Alan Wade in Rivers Academy as well. I mean, I guess Ryan Steele. I can't, and I highly doubt Ryan Steele can confirm or deny that.
Exactly. I whether he's at Rivers Academy, I don't know.
I'm going to reword this because it kind of doesn't make sense. The question is who's good at making movies, but I guess the better question is who's your favorite actor? That's what they're asking Ryan Steele.
Who's my favorite actor? I'd have to say Martin Lawrence and Will Smith. I'm always a fan of the Bad Boys series.
All right. So back to this stuff we're talking about with the Academy. You trained all these people, as I said before, and if not Townsend, who are your star pupils, like the guys that you immediately think of as some of the best trainees you ever had? Besides Townsend, who we've talked about. You think of as some of the best trainees you ever had? Besides Townsend, who we've talked about.
Mark Barrett has been getting better. He's been showing up again. He's really striving to get better. Code Red has been falling behind, picking up lessons as well. Everybody else is kind of doing their own thing. They'll make appearances here and there. But those two are kind of main ones coming back, getting retrained, so to speak. And
getting retrained, and I know Mark Barrett, like I said, he spent his early career there, and nowadays he's one of the people that is pretty close to the Universal title picture, a place you've been yourself, and correct me if I'm wrong, if Barrett would manage to get there and take the title from the champion, he would be the first Steel Academy trainee to win a world title.
That is correct. That is correct.
Which would be a huge accomplishment. I can see you. I know you've said that you've planned on dedicating possibly a Hall of Honor for your students, so you might possibly dedicate something to him for winning the title if he would do that.
Yep. I've been talking about a Hall of Honor for quite a while, Steel Academy. So yeah.
Some of your star pupils, you could say, for your future trainees to look up to and be like, I can be those guys.
Exactly.
And off to some other stuff here. CSWA, I guess we're going to talk about this. We've brought it up a couple times already. What possessed you to sign with James Sargent and CSWA? I know he offered you a big money deal. Was it just the money, or was there other goals there?
Titles. Get as many titles under my belt while I can, because I know my time's coming up to where I hang them up. So
we'll get to that near the end of the podcast. But so here we go. We're going to talk about this. I've been wanting to talk about this, and it's getting closer. So this is the story, folks, as far as I know it. Steele, you were at, correct me if I'm wrong and tell me if I'm wrong, you were at Steel Academy one day when a guy walked in, and you were used to people walking in to your academy, you know, possibly try to get a application to join. And this boy's not here to join. This boy's here to tell you some life-changing news. And that life-changing news was, you're my father. And then that's how you figured out you had a son that was almost 19 years old, and that you had a child in high school and you didn't know about it because you went off to train. And you trained Hunter Steele, who's his name, by the way, and he's making waves in the EFED world as well. I mean, how'd that all start? How did you find your son? Like, is that pretty accurate?
yeah, that is dead on accurate, actually.
Like, where were you? Like, were you thrown off? Did you believe him at first?
I was quite shocked. I was thrown off. I had to go off campus for a few minutes. I had to gather myself. I was thrown off base.
So tell me if I'm right here. You apparently had a DNA test done just to be sure because you were worried. And it was true. He is your son. And ultimately the speculation became, who's the mother? And you didn't figure that out for a while. Apparently you spent almost an entire year trying to figure out who it was. And then Stephanie Montgomery came along.
Yeah. It was, she was a girl from back in high school, and we had an outing after prom, and yeah, I'm not going to go into detail. I think everybody else can figure out what happened.
Can solve the pieces of that puzzle. But Ryan Steele figures out he has a son, and you trained him, but unlike any other student you ever had, you did it free of charge after you figured out he was your son. Was it just a pride thing? Were you proud of him for wanting to follow in his father's footsteps? Was that it, or is there more to it?
No, that was basically it. I was proud. I'm glad that he wanted to pursue this career. I'm proud of him. He's making waves, and he's making his own waves.
And interestingly enough, like I said, he's from the same town you are, and you never even noticed. However, he moved away after a little bit, and so that's how you never really figured out until he moved back. But the thing is this. Oh, here we go. I'm going to ask you this question real quick, and I want to know if it's true. Will you listen to this real quick? Here's the question. Let's talk. And this falls along the lines of Ryan Steele's love life. So here we go. Is it true that Ryan Steele had an affair with Tiffany Rivers 2 years ago, the wife of Joe Rivers? Or is this all fake news?
It's all fake news.
It's all fake news. Got you. So you are confirming right now you had never spent any time with Joe Rivers' wife.
It's all fake news.
So, I mean, but I will mention this about your love life because this is nothing that is not common knowledge. Though you were with Stephanie Montgomery for a while, you're with another woman now, Laura Peterson, and how's that like? How'd you meet her? Was it through the academy? Was it another way? I mean, you never really told that story before.
I think I met her autograph signing at a show, after a show. And she just started rambling and talking and just saying, oh, I want to get into this business. I want to do this. I want to do that. I want to do this. I'm going to become women's champion. She just kept rambling. It took me a while to get her to calm down, and I got to talking to her, and one thing led to another, and now here we are.
Here you are, and there was a lot of conflict when she figured out who Hunter Steele's mother was, and how'd you manage to finally settle that issue and stop it from being a full-blown, war between each other?
I have to literally, day by day, keep them apart, because...
Is that why, so let me ask you this. Is that why Stephanie Montgomery only shows up to the STEELE Academy when Laura Peterson's not there and vice versa?
That is correct.
You try to keep them away. I know you said Stephanie's been there multiple times to oversee Hunter's training, and Stephanie's actually been very critical of you, thinking that you're trying to rub her son the wrong way. And in front of everyone, what do you say about that?
That's just a mother's intuition of trying to protect her son. It's really sad that she's got to go that way, but she has her opinion. She has her opinion. I have mine.
Another question here. This is from Matt 8th Star, the promoter of 3Dub. He wants to know, is it true that Ryan Steele is a secret James Black fan?
I'm going to say that's a big fat hell no to that one.
So you are not a fan of James Black?
See, I had an appearance match, more specifically at 3Dub, where I had beat Sandra Cool. And
the Big Event 6?
At the Big Event 6, that is correct.
And they showed up as part of an agreement between HWA and Worldwide Wrestling. Showed up as an ambassador to HWA. Was that something that you asked to do, or is that something that you were asked by management to do?
It was a mutual agreement between both parties.
You wanting to show up in 3Dub and HWA wanting you to go to 3Dub to represent them, right?
Yes.
Gotcha. So when you go there, everyone thought you were going to be alone, and then Clarence Fletcher Townsend shows up there, making a lot of people think that this might be a really weird question, but this has been a legit speculation. I mean this with all due respect. Is the rumors of Ryan Steele and Clarence Fletcher Townsend being a homosexual couple true?
That is by far the most false statement I have ever heard.
So they are not a homosexual couple. There was a lot of things going around here. I have them up. I can put them on the stream of you dressed as a cowboy and him dressed as a cowboy. Are those photoshopped pictures?
Yes, they are. They are photoshopped.
They look like they're from the movie Brokeback Mountain, and just
they are photoshopped from the media.
Sounds like so. You're saying that this is all complete fake news, and that everyone should just ignore it.
Right. That is correct.
Okay, so that's good to know, because at the same time, he's with another one of your trainees who I wanted to briefly cover, and someone that everyone calls a whore and a slut, Victoria Emerson.
And see, and when people call her that, it ashames me. I'm very proud of Victoria and her accomplishments.
Gotcha. So a lot of people asked why that was asked. Why I asked if Ryan Steele and Clarence Fletcher Townsend were a homosexual couple. I just wanted to ask because a lot of people have asked me, and as a broadcast journalist, it is my job to relay the messages and the questions of the people, not completely myself. So let's continue with this conversation, if we may. So you show up in 3Dub, you beat Sandra Cool. Is Ryan Steele done in 3Dub? Is that a one and done, or do you plan on making more appearances down the line?
I do plan on making more appearances down the line.
And I know you've talked with Drew Gessner a lot, the current promoter of Worldwide Wrestling, and you've also seemed to get along well with their owner, Russell Franchise. We got a question here. This is an interesting question. Have you heard of the Sinister Order, Ryan Steele?
I have heard of the Sinister Order.
Well, they want to know from the official Sinister Order account, do you think anyone can stop the Sinister Order on a night in ICW? Oh, now IWA. They just sold the brand completely to IWA and the rights. Cody Rage, Luther Williams, Ryan Shaw. The better question is, you're friends with Ryan Shaw.
That is correct.
So do you think you would ever go against them simply because of your friendship with Ryan Shaw?
No, I've seen what Ryan Shaw can do in that ring. I'm quite proud of what he can do.
And he didn't get trained through you. He got trained through he trained himself. A bare knuckle fighter going through bars and beating people up. Bar fighter. That is correct. He's not really a wrestler. A lot of people say he's a fighter. And I can see a case of that. A lot of people say he should pursue a career in boxing.
That is correct. He's a bar brawler. Very, very hands-on in the ring.
And he trained in the Blaze Academy. That is not a legit thing, though Ryan Shaw did have a little bit of a help from Michael Blaze in the beginning. Regardless, we're going to continue with 3WA. So, nowadays, let's come to the present for a moment. We'll kind of go back to questions in a moment. Something shocking has happened in 3WA lately. Clarence Fletcher Townsend acquired Michael Blaze, DTM, Dre Havoc, and Justin Armstrong in one purchase, and Havoc was reborn with Justin Armstrong and yourself, plus Townsend as their agent. What possessed you to join Havoc, and what possessed you to even work on helping Clarence Fletcher Townsend with the contracts of Michael Blaze and so forth?
See, I respect Michael Blaze. Me and Blaze, we haven't crossed paths. I don't think. Maybe once, twice.
I know he was in IWA when you were in your exclusive days, and
that is correct.
An IWA Hall of Famer like yourself, but we'll get to that part at the very end of the conversation.
But with Havoc, it's I wanted to try something new, and Havoc was new. Not necessarily with me, but Havoc was a faction back in the early days, and they wanted to.
At one point, a tag team, just a tag team between Blaze and Dre Havoc in the early days.
That is correct. They wanted to reunite, so to speak, and they put the offer in front of me, and I agreed.
So either way, you did not ask to be in Havoc. Michael Blaze handpicked every member, including yourself. How did it feel when you were informed that he had wanted you in Havoc?
I felt honored.
He handpicked everyone, Michael Blaze and DTM both, and with DTM, you two originally had some issues with each other, but nowadays you're putting on tag team matches in HWA that people are saying are the best tag team matches in EFED history. Ryan Steele and DTM have proven to be quite the unstoppable force in 3WA.
That is correct. I got a feeling we're going to end up getting the tag titles before long.
The tag team championships, Ryan Steele and DTM. Now, you have a name that the first time you hear it, you might think it's weird, folks, but he has a good explanation behind it. Kill the Noise is the name of the tag team, and why would you pick a name like that to a lot of people makes absolutely no sense? There's a deeper meaning behind it, am I correct?
There's a deeper meaning, and the deeper meaning might be stupid. People might think it's stupid, but when you think of DTM, when you think of Ryan Steele together, you get to talking, and when we were in that ring, we like to kill the noise, which is basically people talking, and our past few matches we have done that.
I'll tell you, it's one of those things, though, with Havoc, a lot of people would never associate you with it. They have associated likes of DTM, Dre Havoc, Michael Blaze. You go back even further, Noah Youngblood, guys like that who have been in Havoc throughout the years, Devin Wade. they would never think about Ryan Steele, and I guess that's one of those things you kind of surprised people with.
And that's the only reason. One of the reasons why I've done it. I wanted to surprise people.
And originally you were opposed to having until you ultimately realized that you and Michael Blaze had a lot in common, and that's then you guys become friends, and now you're in Havoc. And I'm going to ask you this about 3WA. How do you feel about the fact that Clarence Fletcher Townsend has bought the entire Critical Collision pay-per-view, a pay-per-view that is typically just 3WA's main roster versus NGW, the developmental brand, and made it Havoc versus both brands? Like, was this your doing in any way, shape, or form? Did you have anything to do with this?
Not technically. I may have thrown an idea out or two, but I just kind of.
In preparation for this, Ryan Steele, you've brought in Hunter Steele, your son we mentioned before, who's in NGW, and he's shown up a lot in the main roster, and he's won every match on the main roster.
That is correct.
And at the pay-per-view Critical Collision, you and Hunter are facing Soldiers of Fortune for the Tag Team Championships. How does it feel that you're going to be teaming alongside your son in a Tag Team Championship match?
I'm very honored, very proud.
Usually you're teaming with DTM, but I guess you can make exception for your own son.
Yep. And DTM understands.
And I bet he does too. DTM, I wouldn't be surprised if it was his idea in the first place to swap him out with Hunter.
That I don't know about, but...
And now let's talk about this. Your career accolades. You have a lot of these. Multiple-time IWA champion, like with different titles. You've held the Hardcore Championship. You've held the World Championship, the Universal title. And you've held the Heritage Championship and the TV title, if I didn't mention that one already. And you're the only person out of a very select group here that have actually held every single championship on the Proving Grounds brand. Now, what do you think that means about you as a talent, and how does that make you feel that you're part of such an exclusive group?
Well, it makes me feel very proud of myself, actually.
So the only other people, too, have done that, and this is including the tag team, but they've also held all the singles titles as well. Andrew Miller, Nova Reese, and Jacob Cole. I knew you'd have a lot to say about Jacob Cole being on that list, a guy who I was not going to really talk about until his name got brought up. Jacob Cole is someone who you've only lost to once. You have your best record over an opponent, and that opponent is Jacob Cole. Like, you had rarely lost to Jacob Cole. What do you think that says about Jacob Cole as a wrestler?
See, if you compare his Proving Grounds record to our match record, it's like night and day. It's very different.
So before that, at one point, Jacob Cole was winning world titles. He was the Universal Champion. He was the Tag Team Champion. He was the TV Champion and the Heritage Champion, and he just had this fall from grace, some people say. But you recently, on the Cup of Coffee with CFT special, offered your services to Jacob Cole. Does that offer still stand?
Yes, it does, actually.
I mean, why do you want to help Jacob Cole when he's won all these titles anyway, and now he's teaming with Slick Rick and the Dynasty? I mean, are you just trying to save his career from oblivion?
Basically, I'm trying to save him from being ashamed. He's going to fall into a pit and can't get back out of it.
A lot of people say Jacob Cole, his talents are from a different time, if you get what I'm saying. There's a lot of different things in wrestling that weren't there when he debuted, like, you know, a bunch of outside of the ring action and suicide dives and stuff. And he seems to have a hard time adapting to the new style. And is that partially what you want to teach him about, is just how things are done nowadays compared to what he was used to?
Yes, exactly.
Kind of make him get out of his bubble a little bit and spread his wings, if you get what I'm saying, when it comes to
break out on his own. Yep.
In-ring style. I mean, everyone has to adapt. But while we got some time here, So you have received a lot of honors in your career. Later on, a lot of them. But let me ask you this. Do you regret anything? Very straightforward question.
Do I regret anything? Anything in my career?
If you could go back and do it all again, would you do everything the same way now? The same way it is now, or would you change some things?
Honestly, I would go back and see what Rivers Academy would be about. I would change that.
I mean, but at the same time, I mean, it's not that you didn't have success with or without Joe Rivers. You ultimately did. Just took you a little longer. You're in the... This is something that I don't think you saw coming, but you were inducted into the IWA Hall of Fame.
That is correct.
And that was something that you seem to hold as one of the highest honors in your career.
That is an accomplishment that I will hold very dear.
In the IWA Hall of Fame, it's meant a lot to you. I know it has. It's a very exclusive group. It really is. You're up there now with the likes of Joe Rivers and Ricky Armstrong and KSJ, Killswitch Joe, some other tag teams. And yes, there's a Rising Star section, guys like King Dominator who made it in for their accomplishments in one season, and Michael Blaze who was on a similar path. But it's still a very exclusive group, if you ask me. The IWA Hall of Fame, and I know you're honored to be part of this exclusive club, you could say. Now, the other honor you received this last year was something you would have never seen coming, the ICW Superstar of the Year.
Yes, I was the 2020 ICW Superstar of the Year. I honestly didn't think that would ever happen.
You ever be given a Superstar of the Year award?
Yeah.
But let me ask you this. It seems as if people are shocked by your answer about going to Rivers Academy. I know you and Joe Rivers don't really get along anymore, but would you even, let me ask you this. If you could have a big feud with Joe Rivers in IWA in his prime and in your prime, which is essentially now, would you do it?
That's a tough question.
Would you even face Joe Rivers in his prime and in your prime? Like, you put both eras together. Are you facing Joe Rivers?
I would have a match. Yes, I would have a match with Joe Rivers.
Would it be just to prove to yourself, or?
Yeah, actually, it would. Yeah.
Joe Rivers is someone that you had a lot of ups and downs with, and you faced him in UCW early in your career, but the only reason you said you lost was lack of experience, but you showed some promise in your early matches against Joe Rivers. And nowadays, I mean, of course, it's never going to happen now. Joe Rivers is semi-retired and not really in his prime anymore, and you just kind of reached yours in, perspective. So, I mean, do you find that at all a shame?
No, it was Rivers' time to hang it up. He's accomplished everything in his career.
I mean, he's still going. He's in some places. I mean, he was in HKW before it closed. He's part-time in 3WAs getting United States Championship matches, you probably know, against KD. But he's not completely done yet. But he's, I guess, mostly done. Maybe is the word or the term to use here. That he's mostly done. That he's done almost all he's wanted to do. He's slowing
down his time. He's slowing down his time.
He's slowing down his time, yes. But every wrestler gets there, and you'll even get there one day. But let me ask you this. This is something I think I should ask. This is just a personal question to you from me. Say you were in your prime back a few years ago when you debuted in IWA. who would you face out of this list of superstars? The first person you go for, Joe Rivers, Killswitch Joe, Blade Wyatt, Bobby Wade, or Ricky Armstrong? Or, I don't know if I said him, but Slick Rick.
Out of those names, which one would I pick?
Who would you go after first in their prime?
Well, I'm going to tell you this. Blade Wyatt never had a prime. I would probably go after Ricky Armstrong, to be honest with you.
Ricky Armstrong, the E-Fed legend, would have been your target. Huh. Okay, IWA Network James STEELE, and apparently Joe Rivers is planning on signing off on this. It's almost a year away from March Mania, if I'm not mistaken. And James STEELE wants to already book Ryan Steele versus Joe Rivers. And he said, he is thinking about it. He is seriously thinking about it and would be interested in that. He's like, and let me ask you this. Do you accept that if the contract is signed? Are you going to sign the contract to face Joe Rivers at March Mania 6 in April the year before? That's a long wait.
If the terms and conditions are right, I'll sign.
So Ryan Steele, you heard it there. If you can get it on paper, James STEELE, Joe Rivers as well. Ryan Steele versus Joe Rivers at March Mania 6 is a real possibility at this point. And I think Ryan Steele will be getting himself ready for that. We've got almost an entire year ahead of us until that comes. But I know Ryan Steele will be looking forward to it. But that's a long time from now, and I know that you're going to be undergoing a lot of maybe training to prepare for that, if it happens.
That I will be.
The likes of which you've never undergone before.
That is true.
But do you actually think that it's going to be easier if you face Joe Rivers beating him in his older age? Do you think that's at all going to be a factor, age?
It can be to a certain extent. I think Rivers has exceeded his training, and we'll see how far he can go against me, and we'll see who the better man is at March Mania.
Oh, Joe Rivers has just upped the ante, and I don't think you can deny this. He says, tell you what, let's do something Ryan has never done. He wants the match, Joe Rivers and Ryan Steele, but he will only sign off on it on one condition. It's the main event. You and Joe Rivers main eventing March Mania 6, to some people, IWA fans, is kind of a dream match. I mean, do you accept the terms of it being a main event? Like the main event of the show? I know it's a dumb question, but I'm just going to ask. The main event of March Mania 6.
I'm gonna up the ante even more. I'll agree to the main event if Rivers puts his in-ring career on the line.
Did I just hear you correctly?
That is correct.
You're saying that if you beat Joe Rivers, you want to do what you did to Bobby Wade at March Mania and retire him from IWA for good?
That is correct.
So you're saying, I mean, I don't know. I mean, is Joe Rivers confident enough to put his career on the line in IWA, a long storied career, against Ryan Steele? Is that something Joe is seriously willing to do? I know he's in this chat, so hopefully he'll have an answer for me. Is that something you're going to do? Joke's on you, Ryan. My career in IW is done. I'm willing to cover that match. I haven't been there for 2 years. He says he hasn't been there for 2 years, but even so, do you just want to still have that stipulation so he can't do it again? Like, so he's gone for good?
That is my
His career's
decision.
over. His career's over, but you just want to have that stipulation maybe just for the sake of humiliating him? Is
I
it
told
what
you.
it is,
I'm
stipulation?
going to up the ante a bit, and I do believe I upped the ante a lot.
I mean, Joe Ball's in your court. I mean, I know you really. I mean, he's just wanting to do it to humiliate you at March Mania. He doesn't care whether or not you've been in the ring for 2 years. He just wants to stop you from ever doing it again after that match. Says, looks like our investment company, 5-Star Investments, will be making some huge meetings real soon. That's from IWA. I'm assuming you're going to be expecting a call from 5-Star Investments.
I'll probably get one tomorrow morning.
Probably so. He's like, tell you what, the stipulation at this point, as it will be an I don't know. He upped the ante to the point I don't know if you're going to accept it. He said, stipulation will be an unsanctioned match. So a match that is not sponsored by IWA. Get your own referee, possibly your own arena, and anything goes. But not only is his IWA career on the line, yours is too. Are you willing to give up your IWA career in an unsanctioned match against Joe Rivers at March Mania? If that is something that you are willing to do, I mean, for one, we know you're not going to stay retired. You wouldn't stay gone from IWA.
No, I can't. I can't.
Something that Ryan simply can't do, so maybe just settle with an unsanctioned match and lift your rule on the careers on the line, since Joe's essentially retired anyway. Just do an unsanctioned match is upping the ante because anything can go, and you have Joe Rivers to yourself. Who knows, under this unsanctioned rules, there might not even be a crowd, and you don't even have a venue to host the match in, because with it being unsanctioned, they aren't going to hold it at the March Mania Arena. I mean, where could you go to have a match with Joe Rivers? Where? Anywhere in the world that has a ring and you can get a referee. Where are you telling Joe Rivers to go?
There's only one place I know, and that is STEELE Academy.
You're telling him that you want this unsanctioned match to be at STEELE Academy, since it cannot be at the March Mania Arena due to the stipulation of it being an unsanctioned match.
That is correct.
Do you find that to be an unfair advantage, or are you just going to not host a class that day? Are you just going to tell them not to come?
Exactly.
I mean,
yeah, I'm gonna tell him to hold off for that week, because
so give them a break, and that's something you've never done before, by the way, is give people breaks in STEELE Academy.
yeah, and that's going to be a first. Yeah.
Unsanctioned match in Dayton, Ohio, in your own home. That's what Ryan Steele's suggesting, but with no one else there in Ryan Steele's own wrestling school, the only thing IWA will provide, and I'm just got told by Clarence Fletcher Townsend this, the only thing they would provide is he would pay for their camera crews, and that's it, the production crew, that's it. No commentary, maybe a commentary team, but just the cameras, but you have the ring. You have to get a non-biased official, which I don't know where you're going to find one of those at. But you have the ring, you have the venue, and you have the production. But for one, do you even keep weapons under the ring at STEELE Academy? It's not like an official show. Like, is that something you do?
I'll have plenty of weapons become by that time.
So you're saying you will kind of pick out your own toys, per se. Oh, wait a minute. This is an interesting thing. Ryan Steele versus Joe Rivers, but IWA Network has proposed that they help pick the non-biased referee. And do you want to hear who they've picked to potentially be the referee? Bobby Wade.
I kind of seen that one coming.
Bobby Wade is the special referee. Does that at all make you concerned about his biases against you and Joe? I mean, he doesn't like either of you. So do you think maybe the hatred will kind of cancel out each other?
Well, I guess I don't. I know Bobby's not the best interest of me. I know.
And yes, we do know the rules.
He's still holding a grudge.
Match.
He's still holding a grudge against me about beating him twice at March Mania. So.
Well, I know him and Joe Rivers go back as well. But what I was saying, he asked if he knew the rules of an unsanctioned match. We do the rules of the unsanctioned match. For those who don't know and those watching, it happens in March Mania, but let's just put it this way. IWA does not pay the expenses. IWA is not responsible for that match. The only thing they'll give you is the airtime. And anything goes in an unsanctioned match because there's no official rules set forth by the promotion. This is something that can be monumental and never before seen in IWA or in EFED history, and let alone that main event, the show. As the main event of March Mania not actually be at the March Mania arena, but broadcast to March Mania directly from Dayton, Ohio at STEELE Academy. That'd be revolutionary in a lot of aspects. And you know that.
Mm-hmm.
But either way, we've been going about an hour or so already. 5 more minutes. I don't need 5 more minutes. I'll just go ahead and wrap things up here. But I'm going to ask one more question. When are you going to be done? When is this going to all come to an end? When are you just going to say, hey, I'm done with my in-ring career and just exclusively train people at STEELE Academy? When is going to be the end of Ryan Steele?
Well, I'm glad you asked that, and I'm glad it's going to be the final couple minutes. I'll stop when I can't go no more.
And do you see that being soon?
Not any time.
Well, all right. But either way, Ryan Steele, I just wanted to thank you for your time this evening. And I'd also like to thank SBJ for giving me the opportunity to do this podcast. Before I sign off, I'd just like to say like and subscribe. But we're going to try to get a couple more podcasts in, probably not the last you've seen of me. I'm in the works to get guys, possibly DTM, Slick Rick are both interested. More specifically, Slick Rick is the planned next guest on the Hybrid Origins podcast, and either myself or SPJ, maybe even both of us, will be here to talk to the legendary Slick Rick. But again, ladies and gentlemen, like and subscribe this video. Thank you so much for watching, and everyone, have a good evening.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you, Gordon Lawler. Thank you, Ryan Steele. Good stuff, gents. Thank you, Joe Rivers, Outlaw, several people, IWA Network, everyone that took place here. And yes, the American Outlaw wants to be lined up as well to be part of this Origins, so we will get that added to the list. Outlaw, I saw your request a day or so ago and have not forgotten about you. That being said, hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and a special announcement to those that are involved in the hybrid wrestling universe. And yes, it is true, James Black has retired. He had some health issues and he can no longer participate in ring. So that title on the West Coast is vacated. Therefore, on the very next episode of the Hybrid Universe, we'll be having a 10-man over-the-top Royal Rumble style match. Winner takes the title.
Can you tell us any of the entrants?
I'll give you the whole list right now. So the participants for that world title will be Brute Pain, Michael Blaze making his return to HWA in a big way will be in that match. Manny Ortiz has worked his way into that match. The legend Colt Shields making his return. A man that you've been mentioning several times during tonight's show, DTM, will be in that match. Chris Harris, the handsome one. Aaron Wade, and get this, he will be standing there, possibly toe-to-toe. Imagine if it came down to this, Aaron Wade And Bobby Wade will be making his return to hybrid as well after almost 2 years. Entering Caleb Shaw and the Iron Bison. Those are the 10 that will be in that over-the-top Royal Rumble-style match for the East Coast Championship. So it should be a very entertaining match there, folks. So keep an eye on that next week. And that is it. I can tell you
this right now, CFT, if he's going to be at commentary, I can tell you right now, he's got 3 people in there. He's going to be pretty confident, I think, if he comes on commentary for that one.
That's some pretty damn good odds right there, isn't it?
I'd say so.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, Stephen Benoit Jericho on behalf of the Hybrid Wrestling Universe. Have a good night.